listening in on the Twitter land space on Twitter, and I don't understand why persons who have friends with all these other nations, well, that's all well and good. You have a Jamaican friend, you have a Jamaican person in your family bloodline, you have a Haitian person that's a friend, associate, or in your family tree. But everybody wants to try to paint a narrative that folks want to paint a narrative because you get along with a few folks, and the narrative that all Jamaicans don't come to America and only think about their well-being first. That's a human being instinct. We each have it. Each human being care about their well-being before the next person. That could be a family member. It could be a stranger. It's just the way our wiring is. It's no reason to deny it. Now, with that said, there are many, many persons who have the ability to put aside their own self-bias for the greater good of the collective. There are many persons who live their life that way, but there are also many persons who live their life that they put their own well-being ahead of the collective, and they are selfish and they live their life that way, and there's no denying it. But these Pan-Africans are realizing that Negroes / Black Americans mean business when they say delineation. Why does that word terrorize those who have Pan-African mindset? You have paperwork that say that you are Jamaican. Why do you have a problem with Negroes and Black Americans having that same birthright? You are selfish. That's all it is. Folks have been benefiting for decades and decades. They've been benefiting decades and decades because America lumped all brown-skinned and dark brown-skinned persons under a word called Black American and African American. All these immigrants who have a nation, they have three things. They have three things. I'm going to repeat them again. They have three things that Negroes and Black Americans don't have. You persons are good. You are good. You have a nation, number one. Well, let me start with the first one. You have a recognized ethnicity. Let's say it together. You have a recognized ethnicity on the OMB. You have a national origin. Let's say it together. You have a national origin. You have a nation. You have three things that put you in a better position than Negroes and Black Americans. So what are you crying about? What you're crying about is that you're not going to be able to cosplay and eat off of that position any longer. Because when you heard the word delineation, you knew very clearly that you were not going to be able to cosplay and convince people that you're going to laugh in their face. But when you get off the phone and pull out your paperwork don't say Negro. Your paperwork don't say Black American. Your paperwork says Jamaican, Haitian, Ethiopian, Nigerian, or any other nation. And when you get off of this phone and you are having a good old laugh, because this should be a short conversation. It exposes the ungratefulness of you persons, that you have the audacity to try to argue a point that a whole people, a race of people cannot delineate from you trying to identify the same way they identify. So you're getting two identities. You're getting the privilege of two identities. You're getting your paperwork that say Jamaican, and you also get the benefit from the identified as Black American. You are being selfish. And that's really all the conversation is about at the end of the day. Because going back and forth and denying that is only showing your selfishness, because this is common sense. This should not be any confusion. But the only reason why it's a continuous conversation is because individuals don't want to respect another person's ethnicity, another person's birthright. No, I want you to be Pan-African because we have the same skin color. If you don't agree with being Pan-African, then you're anti-black. When your paperwork don't say black, do it. Do your mother and father bloodline come from the term black? No, it don't. So you're just caring about your own self-interest when you clearly know when you hang up the phone and you're sitting around a table with your family members, you are not identifying as black. You are saying out your mouth, I am Jamaican. If you are having a cookout with your family members, all the members that attend that cookout are not constantly saying, I'm black. And you know you're not doing that. You are saying out your mouth, Jamaican. So I just heard Mr. G Money. I don't know when this sickness came about where people think they can speak for millions of persons. G Money may feel that he have no problem with Negroes and Black Americans not having their own identity. He may be okay with that. But that child is going to be born tomorrow. They deserve to have a birthright. That child, when they turn 18 and grow up in a society, deserves to be recognized and respected for their human rights and their self-respect and protection and resources based on their ethnicity that they came into the world. Well, America decided for 54 years that Negroes and Black Americans were not going to get their human rights, their self-respect, their protection, and their fair share of resources. So the resources are going to all the immigrants who are being recognized on the census report. Black Americans and African Americans are not recognized on the census report. I don't know why these persons who are clearly benefiting and clearly are better off than Negroes and Black Americans for the past 54 years. So why are persons who identify as Pan-African, Jamaican, Haitian, Bahamas, Ethiopian, and Nigerian, and all these other nations, why are they crying? All of you are in a better position. Do it need to be repeated? You are in a better position than Negroes and Black Americans after their ancestors carved out 246 years so that they descendants would not have to start at ground zero. You have jumped ahead of them. That don't happen by accident. That happens on purpose. So I think you persons are realizing that Negroes and Black Americans mean business when they say they're going to fight for their delineation. And that is why you have lost your mind. It's okay. The world is not going to come to an end. You're still going to be able to get off the phone and look at your paperwork and see what it say, and you're going to be okay. So you don't need to keep on embarrassing yourself and crying like you're crying. But see, the bottom line is, it's getting ready to get hot in the kitchen. And you immigrants that cry over being called Tetter and name calling, if you are crying over that, it's already a proven fact that your skin is not tough. You are not built for this battle in America. You may be built for the battle in your own nation, but you are not built for this battle over here. Because you have had over 50 years to come to America and align with Negroes so that Negroes and Black Americans could remove out of government the persons who are gatekeeping and making sure that your country props up a corrupt government. But you did not come over here and do that. No, you care more about making life better for yourself than you cared about getting in line with Negroes and Black Americans. And since you wasted over 50 years, it's too late to cry now. It's too late to cry now because the Republicans are in control of 25 states. Do y'all immigrants understand what that means? I don't think you do. They control 25 states. Negroes and Black Americans don't have a population in those 25 states. It's less than 2%. They just took over South Carolina. That's 26 out of the 50. So Negroes and Black Americans don't have time to try to explain this to you folks anymore. We have had 50 years for you to get an understanding of how America operates. So I'm going to suggest that you book a plane ticket and get out of Dodge and get back to your nation. You are fine. Negroes, America is not recognizing the Negro nation over here that L.B. Johnson spoke of. So you persons who have a nation, pack your suitcase and go back to your nation. It's been a good thing that you have had an opportunity to come to America and better yourself, and America is to blame for a good percent of the destruction in your nation. Most persons are not denying that, those who have done the research. America is certainly responsible for the destruction in your nation. All of them. But that's why when you had an opportunity to come to America, whatever length of time it took for you to get your life together and have a better life, common sense would have told you to go back to your nation and build over there. Why you didn't do that, you only know that and God knows. That would have been the thinking that I would have thought that immigrants would have. If I had an opportunity to leave my nation temporarily because it was being destroyed, and I had an opportunity to go to another place and make things better, once I had enough time to make things better, I would make plans to go back to my nation and contribute to my nation in whatever way I could. I just would not stay over in another country and then preach 24/7 that we just all need to come together. We just all need to come together and unify because we have the same skin tone. We are going through the same oppression. Well, if we were going through the same oppression, immigrants wouldn't be ahead of Negroes and Black Americans. Would they? If we were all going through the exact level of oppression, Negroes wouldn't still be at the bottom after 150 years. So that's a lying narrative that all you immigrants preach. The data don't lie. Human beings lie. The data don't lie. Human beings lie. Negroes and Black Americans would not be at the bottom after their ancestors carved out 246 years so that each of their descendants would not have to start at ground zero. But somehow or another, for 150 years, everything that the Negro ancestors sacrificed for the day so that their descendants would have a better life has not come true. They have remained at the bottom for the past 150 years. Every immigrant that has come to America since 1865 are doing better than Negroes and Black Americans. That does not happen by accident. That happens on purpose because America has put a system in place to make sure that every immigrant have a better opportunity than Negroes and Black Americans. That's the only way it can happen. By the law of average, things should change up. By the law of average, that's just how the law of average works. Things are going to naturally change up. Well, it has not naturally changed up for the past 150 years. And the only thing that has prevented that is the system of racism and discrimination in America. And every Negro and Black American has tried to explain that to you immigrants over and over and over and over again, but you don't want to understand the truth because you cannot understand how America operates because you did not grow up in this mindset. Even if your mother and father came here after 1900, you have not been here long enough to fully understand the history of over 400 years. I cannot move to Jamaica and live there for 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years and tell the people of that nation that I understand their nation better than they do. I would sound like a fool. I would sound like a fool no matter if I lived there for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I would be a fool to go to Jamaica and try to tell the people of Jamaica, I understand your political system, your culture, your environment better than you do, when I ain't been there but a short length of time. But all you immigrants seem to be experts at the environment and the politics and everything about the America's landmass than the people who have been here for over 400 years. How does that make sense? It don't make sense. And that is why Negroes and Black Americans are delineating, because you persons are dangerous. You just do not have the mindset of Negroes, because we grew up in different environments. That's natural. It's nothing wrong with that. That's just how life works. If I had grew up in Germany, my mindset and development would have been shaped from growing up in Germany. But I did not grow up in Germany. I grew up in America. So the American environment shaped me. I didn't grow up in Jamaica. So my mindset is not shaped for Jamaica because I did not grow up there. My mindset is not shaped for Ethiopian. I did not grow up there. I grew up in America. Every person is shaped by their environment. So you're going to have different mindsets. It's not saying that you are dumb or not having common sense or intelligent. It just simply means that every human being is shaped by the environment they grew up in. And you're going to have differences based on your environment. It can't be avoided. But you persons can stop crying because delineation is happening. America, Black Americans, and African Americans don't have an identity as of this very second. But all you immigrants do. Each one of you have your recognized identity, your recognized ethnicity. You have your national origin, and you have your nation. Why are you crying and painting a narrative that Negroes and Black Americans hate these other nations? You're ungrateful. You're ungrateful, and that is what you are exhibiting every time you get on a public app. Every time you do it, and God is not going to reward that. You are going to have to answer for that one day because you're being selfish. Your paperwork says you are Jamaican. What is wrong with Negroes' paperwork saying Negro or Black Americans being the only ones that can identify as Black Americans? What is wrong with that? But no, because you were born in America, you think that make you American. Well, I would like for someone to send me an address of where do I go to find the blood bank for Black American and African American. Since you persons so desperately want to be Black American, where is the blood bank? There should be a blood bank where I can go get blood if I need blood that is identified as Black American blood or African American blood. Seeing as how you persons so desperately want to be Black American and African American, did American cut you open and put Black American blood inside your body? Or do you still have Jamaican blood inside your body? I just want to try to make sense of this. Because as far as I know, America did not cut you open because you were born in America and made you become American. And your blood, your body was filled with Black American blood. It didn't happen. So you sound very foolish. The right way that it should have been done was that Jamaicans should have been Jamaican Americans. That's what should be on the census report. It should be Jamaican American, Haitian American, German American, Irish American, whatever your nation was before you landed in America. That is what should be on the census report. And Negroes deserve that same right. Black Americans who want to identify as Black Americans should have that same right. and no one else should be able to claim that term if we're being fair. If we're being fair and honest, that's the way it should be spelled out on the OMB. But it's not spelled out because America wanted to make sure that Negroes and Black Americans stayed at the bottom. So that's why they did not spell it out that way. And you immigrants, most of you immigrants know that you are taking benefits away from Black Americans and Negroes. You know you're doing that. When you go to a college and you apply for a college, you are getting slot position that should be going to Negroes and Black Americans, but they are going to an immigrant because they are claiming that box. You know this is happening. You know it's been happening for the past over 50 years. You know when an immigrant and a Negro walk into the employment office to apply for a job, the person sitting behind that desk is going to give it to that immigrant before they give it to that Negro. You are going to deny that, but that's how America operates. Otherwise, again, if that was not happening consistently, Negroes and Black Americans would not still be at the bottom. So you persons can stop denying it. The data has been researched. Talent, New Negro Republic, a scholar, researched it for all of us who spent time in the Negro space. He dug into the data and researched it and connected the dots that America has been harming, let's say it together, harming Negroes and Black Americans for 54 years. Are any of you Jamaicans crying over that? Are any of you Haitians crying over that? Are any of you Ethiopians crying over that? Are any of you Nigerians crying over that? That America has put something in place for 54 years to harm one specific group. None of you are opening Twitter spaces crying about that, but you're crying about Pan-African. See, you don't know what things are going to show what your true character is. You never know what's really going to show what's really inside of you. If you cared about Negroes and Black Americans and this fake unity, then you would be just as upset as Negroes and Black Americans that they have been harmed by America for 54 years. But you have not expressed 1 ounce of that. So you never know what's going to really expose your true character. You just never know what it's going to be. But it's going to happen. It is going to happen. And so you Pan-African persons have been exposed. When you immigrants hijack Negroes and Black Americans' holidays and make it your own, you show your true colors. You have literally went as far as that Negroes and Black Americans can't even claim their own hairstyle. They can't claim their clothes style. They can't claim their food. They can't claim their music. They can't claim anything they have accomplished in America without you claiming it belongs to you too. That's how selfish you persons are. You open up Twitter spaces and you attack an organization called FBA, and you put a target of Nazi, label them Nazi because your feelings were hurt because you were called a name. Did you not realize you put a target on every person's back that's brown or dark brown skin? Did that ever enter your thoughts when you woke up that morning and decided to make a Twitter space, and because you dislike Tariq Nasheed, you want to paintbrush every person in that organization? I don't identify as FBA, but I would never wake up and paintbrush every person in the FBA because I dislike several people. I just would not do that because that would be totally foolish and unfair and dishonest. But you persons don't care about doing it. That's another example that we don't have the same mindset. I could never get on an airplane and fly to Jamaica and land in Jamaica and say, all you Jamaicans are Nazi because I dislike somebody who is Jamaican. I could never do that. But you persons have done that over here in America, have taken the audacity and the liberty because you got called a tenter, a booty scratcher. You got called names, so you decided in your little brain that because my feelings got hurt, I am going to label this identifier as a Nazi. When you know good and darn well, FBA has no comparison to the Nazi history. But that didn't matter to you. It did not matter to you. What mattered to you was that your feelings got hurt. And that's why I say you are dangerous. You are very dangerous, and you need to pack your suitcase and go back home. You really do. Hopefully you have saved up monies. Hopefully you have gained whatever knowledge you need to gain to go back to your nation and help rebuild it. If you really cared about Pan-African, if you really, really cared about Pan-African, you will be back in your nation rebuilding it. That's the truth that's the heart of the truth. If each of you persons who constantly say Pan-African out your mouth, if you really cared about that, you will be back in your nation rebuilding it and sacrificing. But you're not going to do that. It's a lot easier to sit over here on America's landmass and talk down about Negroes and Black Americans while in the same breath claiming that you want unity. People are not that foolish. You have gotten away with it for over 50 years. Be thankful that you got away with it for over 50 years. Now, persons are starting to wake up. They have had enough decades of interactions to make a fair evaluation. That's a good percent of you persons don't like Negroes and Black Americans. You want to replace them in their own land. And that's just human nature again. You want to replace the ethnicity Negro and Black American and be those persons. That's why you so constantly claim that their food, you claim their hairstyle, you claim their history, you claim their music. What can Negroes and Black Americans claim all they own? Will anyone send me a DM who call themselves Pan-African? Can you please take time out and send me a DM of what can Negroes and Black Americans claim all they own without Pan-Africans trying to claim it too? Do anyone want to answer that question for me? Because you persons have made it very clear, no matter what we have accomplished over here in America, you want to claim it also. And that's ungratefulness, that's selfishness, and that is why delineation has to happen. Every child deserves a birthright. Why are y'all upset about that? Every child deserves a birthright. A birthright of Pan-African is not a birthright. It's not a bloodline. Every child deserves a birthright. Black flatness is not a birthright. That's not a original bloodline. So you persons are exposing yourself. You are clearly exposing yourself as selfish because you proudly stick your chest out that anytime you feel like doing it, I'm Jamaican, I'm Haitian, I'm Bahamas, and no one has any hard feelings about it. But it just really, really upsets you persons for Negroes and Black Americans to delineate. And it's bizarre. It's quite bizarre at this point. And you're embarrassing yourself, and you're showing a level of selfishness that will never be measured. But you're not going to get away with it anymore. Every child deserves a birthright. A birthright is not something called black flatness. A birthright is not something called Pan-African. A birthright is not something called, what's the other one y'all use? They don't came up with a new one called Afrocentric. You see how everyone else walking around on two legs get to have their own birthright. Germans get to have their birthright. Irish get to have their birthright. Asians get to have their birthright. Latinos get to have their birthright. The Mexicans get to have their birthright. Italians get to have their birthright. Jamaicans get to have their birthright. Ethiopians get to have their birthright. Not one of you have sat down and wrote on a piece of paper, I denounce my ethnicity. I denounce my nation. When you decide to do that, then maybe it will be time to have a conversation about Pan-African. But until each of you take out a piece of paper, write on that piece of paper, I denounce my ethnicity. I denounce my nation, and go get it notarized. If you're not going to do that, then it's all a pretense. It's all for selfish reason. It's downright pitiful. It's downright selfish. And unless you get that paperwork, that piece of paper notarized, I know I'm listening to a liar. I know I'm listening to a selfish person. And my mother didn't raise me that way. My mother raised me to respect every human being. And so that's the way I have lived my life. So you persons can stop crying. There will never be any unity until America pays the debt owed to the ancestors. Let's say it together. There would never be any unity with any of these nations. Y'all all got nations. Y'all should not be crying. I just am confused at that main thing. The nation is the big thing. Negroes have a nation over here in America that our ancestors carved out, that L.B. Johnson spoke of. L.B. Johnson said to America, there's two nations in America, Negro nation and American nation. Each one of you immigrants have a nation, don't you? You're not denouncing it, are you? Not one time have you said out your mouth that you want to volunteer to denounce your nation. So if you don't want to denounce your nation, you have nothing to cry about when Negroes and Black Americans say they want to delineate. Do you? Unless you're selfish. Unless you don't want to be fair and honest. It's clear as day. You persons really need to take a hard look in the mirror at yourself and stop coming on a public app embarrassing yourself. It's really unbecoming of adults to continuously, constantly embarrass themselves that way. It's uncalled for. It's completely uncalled for, and you need to stop doing it. Because there would never be any unity as long as you operate from a lying perspective. Because other persons are going to see through it. They are going to see through it, and they're going to move in the opposite direction of you. You may be able to lie and get certain persons, a certain percent of persons to believe it, but I can guarantee the majority of people are not going to believe your lie. They're going to see through it, and they're going to move in the opposite direction of you. They're not going to want to have any type of association with you, any type of interaction with you. They are going to not be around you. So you persons, I am truly thankful that my mother told me at a young age, liars will lie for so long they start believing they lies. Lying people will lie for so long they start believing they lies. I would never forget that conversation that I had with my mother. As I grew up, I started to understand exactly what those words meant. As I met different people, as I met different persons as I was growing up, I would constantly be reminded of those words. A lying person would get to a point, they lie for so long, they start believing their own lies. And you persons are proving that fact over and over again. You are constantly proving that fact. And I just can't forget that. I can't forget that valuable lesson that my mother told me. I just constantly am reminded of it. So the bottom line is very simple. Negroes and Black Americans deserve their birthright. And you persons don't want to respect that. You only want to think about your own selfish need and selfish wants and selfishness. Otherwise, this should not be a conversation at all. It should have been discussed and over and done with in a very short length of time. Because it's very simple. If you have your paperwork and you have your paperwork say Jamaican, Haitian, why would you have a problem with Negroes and Black Americans' paperwork saying how they want to identify, unless you're selfish? And so that is what is the fact of the matter. That is the clear fact. And until y'all get that through your thick head, there will be no unity. And it don't have to be that way. Because Negroes and Black Americans and Jamaicans and Haitians and Ethiopians and Nigerians should be able to build trust and connection with each other. Because we certainly are connected by our skin tone. But skin tone alone cannot bring unity. Trust brings unity. Trust and respect builds unity. And when unity is really a real thing, it don't have to be said because you feel it on the inside. But until you individual persons who run around crying about Pan-Africa and unity, understand unity will never happen if you don't have the ability to respect and acknowledge that person's birthright. How can you build anything with each other if you can't even get past that first major point? It cannot happen. And it's really sad that we're at this point all these 50 years later when it did not have to be that way. Because Negroes and Black Americans wanted every brown person that came to America to unify with the fight we were doing in America. We just assumed that. We made that assumption that every Negro, every brown skin and dark brown skin person that came to America was just going to naturally unify with the fight that we had been fighting for over 400 years. We just naturally assumed that. I can speak for myself. For 59 years of living on this earth, that's the understanding that I had until 2022. In 2022, I received the shock of my life that immigrants did not feel the need to support the fight that Negroes and Black Americans had in America. They did not see it the same way. And so that's just the fact of the matter. That's the truth. It's unfortunate it unfolded that way, but it did. Maybe at some point it can change. But as it stands right now, until America recognizes Negroes and Black Americans as human beings and recognize their ethnicity at the federal, state, and local level, Negroes and Black Americans don't have time to keep having this conversation with you immigrant. You are fine. America recognizes you. You don't have any problem. America recognizes your ethnicity. They recognize your national origin. They recognize your nation. So why are y'all interfering with the Negroes and Black Americans' fight with America? Why are you interfering? Can you answer that, please? Why are you interfering? Because you are recognized on the OMB. You are recognized. So why are you interfering with the Negro and Black Americans' fight against America? Why are you doing that? Because you're selfish. That's why you're doing it. Because you're selfish. So you can listen to these handful of persons who have interaction and relationships with other immigrants. They have them in their family. They have them. They are married to them. They have them as friends. They have them as associates. But that does not take precedence over a person's birthright. It's all well and good that you have friends and associates and you have family members that are married into the different bloodlines, but you don't have the right to deny another person's their birthright. And until you understand how to respect that, you can stop fantasizing and dreaming about unity, because that's just the number one thing that every human being should respect. Another human being is their birthright. If you can't simply do that, then you simply don't want to have any interaction. You simply can't do that minimal one thing of recognizing and respecting that person's birthright. Why would you think that person would want to get to know you? Why would you think they would want to unify with you? Why would you think that? When you simply have made it clear that you do not want to recognize that person's birthright, why would you think that you could build unity with each other? It's bizarre. It's downright bizarre. But you persons can keep on running around here like little minions, because Negroes and Black Americans clearly understand that America is implementing a replacement theory, and you persons with brown skin are part of that agenda. We're not slow. We're not dumb. We clearly know America would rather walk out their door and lay their eyes on an immigrant before they want to lay their eyes on a Negro descendant. We've been knowing that for well over 50 years. But y'all think we don't know that. We clearly know that Biden went to Africa and gave, $55 billion or $55 trillion? I think some of that money was meant to pay for plane tickets to bring more persons in America to replace the bodies of Negroes. That's why they removed Negro off the census. This has been in place since 1968. Are y'all that late? America been working on this diabolical plan since 1968, and it includes immigration policy. It includes Negro, brown and dark brown skinned persons from all these other nations to bring their bodies over here and replace the Negro bodies, because we have different mindsets. If I had enslaved Negroes for 246 years, and I did not enslave a person coming from Jamaica or Haitian or Bahamas or Ethiopian or Nigerian, I would rather interact with that person I did not enslave than the persons who descend from those who I did enslave. That makes common sense, don't it? If I got two persons in front of me, one person come from a bloodline that I enslaved, the other person did not come from that bloodline that I enslaved, I'm going to want to deal with and interact with that person I did not enslave bloodline. That makes common sense. And that is what Negroes and Black Americans have been trying to explain to you immigrants for well over 50 years. But you don't want to hear it. Negroes and Black Americans are not blaming you. We are blaming America. We're just trying to explain to you that's their agenda. But you don't want to hear that. And if America and the whole world get through the Negro and Black Americans line of defense, all you nations can forget about it. Because the Negroes and Black Americans are the last line of defense for all brown-skinned persons. But you selfish people can't see that. If things are ever going to change in Jamaica, Haitian, Bahamas, Ethiopian, or the continent, it's going to have to start in America. So Negroes, and Black Americans are the last line of defense. That's why everyone cried to us. Whether it's Palestinians, whether it's Germans, whether it's Latinos, whether it's Asians, whether it's immigrants with brown skin, all you nations cry to the Negroes and Black Americans. Why do you do that? We are the smallest percent of people. But all these nations cry to Negroes and Black Americans. Whether it's Germans who get feel that they being mistreated, we need to unify. You constantly hear all these nations crying. We want you Negroes and Black Americans to unify with us. We want you to be we want us all to be allies. And Negroes and Black Americans are the smallest percent, population-wise, people-wise. Why is that? Something is upside down here. When you compare that Negroes and Black Americans make up 50 million or 60 million persons in America, but Jamaican has millions and millions, 3 or 4 times over that 50 million that Negroes and Black Americans make up. But you persons are crying to the Negroes that we hate you. You outnumber our population by 3 or 4 times over. How does that make sense? How does that narrative fit? The same thing with Haitian and the continent. All your nations make up the population count of Negroes 3 or 4 times over. Why do you persons feel so desperate to unify with 50 million persons on the earth? Why are you not spending time unifying with each other? Why are you not spending time unifying Jamaican nation with the Haitian nation and the Bahamas nation and the continent population? Why is all the focus on Negroes and Black Americans? Why is that? Something's wrong there. Something is wrong there. If I have a brain in my head, and I know that the population in Jamaica is very, very large, and I know that the population in Haitian is very, very large, I will be spending my energy and time figuring out how those 2 nations could unify to help Negroes. That would make sense. That would be the fair, logical thinking. But you're not doing that. Why is that? It's got to be a reason. It's got to be a reason. Why you 2 nations are not working hard to figure out how to unify so you could help Negroes in America? Because you outnumber the Negro population. Not doing that is because you're not built with the same mindset that Negroes and Black Americans have. That's just the bottom line. You are not built with the same mindset as Negroes and Black Americans, because I totally understand and agree that these nations have been destructive for Jamaican, Haitian, and all these brown-skinned nations. But I don't understand why these brown-skinned nations have not worked to unify with each other, to suppress America's strong arm, or Russia's strong arm, or China's strong arm, or who's the other one? All these nations who have used a strong arm to be destructive in your nation. Why you have not sat down and thought about it critically, said, We have millions and millions and millions of persons. Why are we